Hi students, I hope you're doing well. Today we are going to do a lesson about the man that you see to your right. This is going to be actually our last lesson in our Black History Month series because it's the last February lesson. I hope you recognize this man as Dr. Martin Luther King. And as this page said, and you probably recognize this as the book that we went through by Kwame Alexander, it says, this is for the unlimited, the unstoppable ones. So those are two words that describe Martin Luther King. The dreamers and the doers who swim across the big sea of our imagination and show us the majestic shores of the promised land. So Martin Luther King was somebody who changed people's lives. It's somebody we remember, and we have a holiday even to still honor Martin Luther King. So that's who our lesson's going to be about today. And let's go ahead and get started in it. First, we'll just have a little warm-up about when did slavery actually end in the United States. If you don't know that, maybe you want to do a little bit of research before we have our lesson. Now, just because slavery ended, did that mean that whites and blacks or people of color, people with darker skin, did that mean that they had equal rights? The third question, I think we talked about this word last week, segregation. So, do you remember what the meaning of that word is? We're going to talk in the lesson today about that word too. This word right here that I'm highlighting, you pronounce this word persuade, persuade. To persuade means to use your actions and your words in order to change someone's mind about something or to encourage them and to move them to positive action. Okay? So the question is, why do you think that Martin Luther King Jr. was able to persuade people that things needed to change in the United States? So those are some of the things that you can be thinking about as we go through the story together. We'll go back and maybe I'll ask you those questions again after we've read this story. I don't actually know how much you know about Martin Luther King. Maybe a little, maybe you don't know anything at all. So I hope this lesson is encouraging to you. The vocabulary words are not as difficult as last week's and not as many. So that's good, but I think they are words that you'll be able to use often in your regular speech. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to just read them. You can read them at home. Theology, theology, theology. This word we talked about, we'll see if you remember the meaning. We're going to match these words to their definitions in just a minute. Right now, we're just going to pronounce them. So theology, segregation, segregation, train, persuade, persuade. This is a hyphenated word. Non-violent, non-violent. All right, let's look at the definitions. The first definition says to convince or to talk into. To convince or to talk into. Now, you might not know convince, okay? So to convince or talk into means that you are able to change someone's mind about something, to change their thinking about something. All right, so which word do you think that is? That is persuade. So if you're able to persuade someone, you're able, by your actions and by your words, by your life, to persuade. You're able to change their thinking about something. Which word means the separation of people by race or by the color of their skin, by their background, their heritage? I think you know this one. Segregation. The study of religion, or the study about your beliefs about God. The study of religion, that's theology. Peaceful. Peaceful. Which of those words means peaceful? So violent is the opposite of peaceful. So non-violent or not violent means peaceful. To study or to work to become better at something, that's to train. This is a verb. So you can have train, training, trained. Lots of times when you get a job, they train you. Maybe the first 2 weeks are your training. You can say, I'm training to become, and then a certain career. Or right now at work, I am training. All right. Okay, those are the first 5 words. So you've got persuade, to convince or talk into. Segregation, to separate people by race. Theology, the study of religion. Non-violent, which means peaceful. And to train, which is to study, to become better at something, or to learn how to do something. All right, let's look at the next 5. All right, so we've got stab, is a verb, stab. Courage, courage. Struggle. Protest march. So we've got 2 words there, protest march. And the last one, inspire, inspire. All right, one of those words means a demonstration walk to raise awareness or to let other people know about something that is important to you and to support a cause or an issue. So a demonstration walk, usually this is with many people together, in order to let other people know about a cause or an issue that is important. That's a protest march. This summer you saw many protest marches. We said last time that those were not just in America, all over the world after the killing of George Floyd. Okay, this next word, the definition is difficulty or it takes a lot of effort or a lot of work to do something. Difficulty, a lot of effort to do something. Okay, they're talking about struggle. Okay, they're using this as a verb. Okay, if something is a struggle, if you are struggling to do something, this means it's difficult. And you can use that word in so many different situations. You can say learning another language is a struggle, or you can, to use it as a verb, you would say, I'm struggling to learn English. Or for me, I was struggling to learn German. Okay? Or you can struggle with lots of things. Okay? We'll talk about that some more. We'll talk about all these definitions some more. This is just to give you the basic idea before we read together. The next word, the definition, is bravery. Strength to do something that you are afraid to do. So to be brave means to have, which one? Courage. So one thing to know is that when you use the word courage, it goes together with the word have. You have courage and you are brave. To cut someone with a knife. Okay, lots of times people use a knife as a weapon. They stab someone. So the word we are looking for is stab. Stab. And then the last one is to motivate, to make someone want to do something. It's like to encourage someone to do something. Is to inspire. Inspire. You can inspire other people by the way that you act and by the way that you speak, the things that you say. So that is the verb inspire. All right, we've gone through the vocabulary. Let's take a look at the actual reading. Okay, this is a short article about Dr. Martin Luther King. Each paragraph you can see is very short. I'm going to let you listen to the story through this recording so that you hear English from someone other than me.
Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. helped Black people in the southern United States win equal rights. King was born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15, 1929. As a young boy, he loved books and was a good speaker. After graduating from college in 1948, King trained to be a minister like his father. During that time, he learned about Mahatma Gandhi, the Indian leader, and his belief in nonviolent protest. King then went to Boston University, where he studied to be a doctor of theology. He met Coretta Scott there. They were married in 1953 and had 4 children. In 1955, King became the minister of a Baptist church in Montgomery, Alabama. He knew that Black people were not treated fairly in the South and wanted to try to change that. He met Ralph Abernathy, another minister, and they worked together to help Black people. Some people did not like what King and his followers were doing. In 1957, someone bombed his home and his church. He was put in jail many times for protesting how Black people were treated. He was also stabbed, but he never used violence, and he asked his followers not to use violence. King was famous for the speeches he gave to persuade people that things must change. He inspired black and white people to fight for the fair treatment of blacks and to end segregation. In 1963, King gave his most famous speech to thousands of people in Washington, D.C. It is called his I Have a Dream speech. King led many protest marches in the American South during the 1960s. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. He also wrote 2 books about black people's struggle for the same rights as white people. King knew he might be killed one day by someone who did not like what he did. He was shot and killed on April 4, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. Today, people are still inspired by the speeches he gave and by his courage to fight for what he believed in without using violence. Martin Luther King, Jr. Martin Luther King.
Okay. I know that their reading was very fast, faster than I would read it or faster than we read it together when we read in class. So you might want to go back, rewind the video, listen to that one more time so that you'll be able to read it together. There's lots of short paragraphs, so everyone in class is going to get a chance to do a little bit of reading next time. Go over the vocabulary again. There is so much to learn about Martin Luther King and about the things that he's done. When we meet together, we're going to go over some comprehension questions about the story. We're going to use the vocabulary in different ways, and we're going to have some discussion questions. So I want you to be able to look at these discussion questions so you can think about those a little bit. We'll listen to the I Have a Dream speech together when we meet next week, Monday afternoon at 3:30 and Tuesday morning. Okay, so the first question was, have you ever heard the speech? You will hear it then, and we will go over what the words of that speech, not the whole thing, it's very long, but it's a very famous speech. And here is one quote from the speech. It says, I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their heart. Okay? So they will not be judged. In other words, people will not make a decision about them because of what they look like, because of their background, their race, whether they are Asian, whether they are African, whether they are white or Caucasian, whether they are Middle Eastern. They will not be judged by the color of their skin, but they will be judged by the content, what's inside their heart. That's a quote from his very famous I Have a Dream speech. So I want you to think about that quote between now and when we meet for Zoom class. And then I want you to think, this is an opinion question, number 3. Do you think that this hope that Dr. King had, do you think that that has become a reality? In other words, is that true today? Or are we still in process? What is your opinion? You can't get this right or wrong. It's an opinion question. One of the big goals for Dr. King was that he believed in nonviolent protest. Number 4 says, do you believe that it's possible to make great changes in society without violence? And then the last question, What other great leaders have believed in nonviolent protesting? Here's a picture of Dr. King giving his speech. This is what we will hear together. If you actually want to hear this speech before we meet Monday and Tuesday, you can go to YouTube and you can put in Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, and you can listen to it. The part that we're listening to begins, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow. All right. This ends the lesson, recording the video lesson. I really look forward to meeting with you on Zoom next Monday and Tuesday, where we can talk about these ideas a little bit more. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you then. Bye.